What is up, everybody? This is the voice of Chicago, known as Chicago Sports Talk. Michael here today with another news final preview before tomorrow's game against the Green Bay Packers. Under once again, prime time bright lights, even though I don't really know why. Every year, the Bears always get a primetime game against the Packers, whether that's Sunday, Thursday, or probably even Monday night. They always get a primetime game against the Packers. So, um, let's before we begin, I want to say, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But as far as Sunday night goes, looking at the Green Bay Packers, they do not look like the Green Bay Packers in recent years. They don't look like the same Packer team from last year. However, this could be just, one of those games where they wind up going on a game winning streak right after that. It's the same stuff from last year. They should have at least kept it competitive against the Saints, but they somehow got blown out 38-3. And after that game, they somehow managed to go on a 7-game winning streak. However, if you look at that, I would say the Packers team is not much better than the Packers team from last year because talent wise, I think if you look at that receiving core, which was Adams and Adams, Lazar, MVS, are better than the receiving core right now. Now, if you look at the receiving core of the Packers right now, all they have is Watkins, Lazar, which we don't know if he's going to be returning, and also Randall Cobb, who is kind of washed and really didn't do anything for the Packers last year. So he was basically a non factor, even though Aaron wanted the Packers to trade the Aaron wanted the Packers to trade for Randall Cobb. So this Packers team is not better than they were last year. The defense obviously is better when it comes to the front seven. You got Preston Smith, you got Rashawn Gary, you have the person that they drafted. I think his name is Devontae Wyatt, and their defense is better on paper. It is, but they didn't have a game plan going up against Justin Jefferson. And I really think that they should have game planned better against the Vikings. They should have had more people on Justin Jefferson. So the secondary for the Packers is kind of suspect, but their pass rush is good. So I think what the Bears have to do in this game in order to win it, they're gonna have to make sure that they do a lot of run plays in order to do play action when it comes to confusing the Packers defense. As far as containing Rodgers, I don't. Aaron Rodgers looks receiving core looks like it's gonna be a problem in the first 4 weeks this season. He's gonna mostly dump it off to people that he is familiar with. So he's gonna obviously go to Aaron Jones most of the game, if I believe. But that depends if Lazar is playing tomorrow, because if he doesn't, then he's gonna dump the ball off a lot to Aaron Jones and maybe throw a one or two tight end screen with Tanya, or who he has great chemistry with. I don't know about Randall Cobb, but I don't think that Rodgers connecting to Randall Cobb as much as it's effective as the one in 2018. So I want to go back to the comments. What up, YTC? Who is he is a New York Giants fan. Unfortunately, on the awkward silence pickums, I had to pick the Carolina. All of us anonymously went with the Panthers. CPG went with the Panthers. Nick Fargo who also went with the Panthers. I went with the Panthers, and Jaganov also went with the Panthers. So we obviously on the pick'ems, I'm currently leading the pick'ems right now, and if I keep being in the lead, I get $50 from the loser. So I'm just making sure I put my bias to the Bears aside in order to make sure that if we're looking at this matchup between the Bears and Packers, recent years, if this is not the same Packers team, but the quarterback Aaron Rodgers makes a huge difference on the team. And how does he make that difference? Well, Rodgers, recent years, has owned the Bears. He has beaten them. He has terrorized them. He also has ruined their playoff moments from time to time again. So I think Matt Eberflus has to keep playing that video where Aaron Rodgers ran it into the end zone, where he shouts to the Bears crowd that he still owns them. I guarantee you, Matt Eberflus is playing that clip every single day of practice this year. Like, I think the Bears defense has to have that motivation every time they walk in. Their thought process should be Aaron Rodgers running in and saying, "I own you." So I guarantee you that that's going for the Bears defensive mindset right now. But here's the thing though. If Adams was still on the team, I would say the best chance the Bears defense has is putting double coverage on Davante Adams. Now that he's not there, he's going the Lazar. They don't really have to. They don't really have to have many guys on any of the Packers receivers because the Packers receivers don't scare you technically. So taking it to an accountant. So, but this is Aaron Rodgers, folks. This should be a close competitive game, but the Packers should able to win this one because they're in Lambeau Field and they still have Aaron Rodgers. If they had Jordan Love, this would be a different story. But would it be surprisingly if the Bears were to beat the Packers? No, it would not be surprising because this is not a Packers team that should be taken lightly. Like the Packers should not be able. All right, folks. So I wouldn't be surprised if we beat the Packers just because the Packers do not look like the team that they were last year. The receiving core isn't better, obviously. You could obviously make an argument that the Packers have an O line, and that's real. Their O line is suspect this year, and mostly that's because of injuries with Bartiari and Elton Jenkins not being there for Rodgers. Minnesota does not have a great pass rush besides of Sedarius Smith and maybe Danielle Hunter. They do not have a good pass rush. So the Bears need to do everything in their power to make sure that they get enough pressure on Rodgers. But I also want to bring up another thing. Aaron, the last time we beat the Packers was in 2018, and our defensive coordinator Vic Fangio did not really blitz that much. He was mostly you still want to get pressure on Rodgers. And also here's another fun fact stat. When Brett Favre was 20-4 against the Chicago Bears, when they hired Lovie Smith to be their defensive coordinator, Brett Favre was 2-7 against the Bears after the Lovie Smith hire. And do you think, and do I say that that's going to happen against the Bears? No, but it's possible. So I'll leave the door open up to questions. People want to hop in and say their questions. Feel free to do so. Leaving the door open up to questions and comments, like questions about this game. I think I've already covered most of the game of what the Bears have to do to win this. I feel like Mooney has to have a game of his life because he really didn't get involved uh, against the Niners. I will say this though: the Bears are still getting hated on after they beat the 49ers, saying that, oh, you guys technically beat a rookie quarterback. That 49ers team is a Super Bowl contender if they have the right quarterback. That 49ers team literally has the same team that they had that went to the NFC Championship. The only difference is the quarterback. Maybe the CBs, but this is the same 49ers team that made it to the championship game last year. And the Bears walked into Soldier Field with a bad first half. They were down 10 points, but somehow they managed to came back. And they're still getting hating on, saying that, oh, Trey Lance is inexperienced. Oh, Trey, you guys got lucky. So, anyways, the Bears win against the 49ers was not luck. The Bears literally did their job and win against a 49ers team that could be a Super Bowl contender if they get the quarterback right. And like I said, the Bears are getting so much heated even after week one, saying that, oh, you only won because Trey Lance is still it was his third game. Oh, it what like the typical excuses after the Bears made an impressive victory. They just make excuses. But this is the same 49ers team that made it to the championship. The only difference was the quarterback. Nothing changed for the 49ers. They were literally the same team they were last year. What's up, my boy CG? I never said he was the answer. I'm just saying that y'all had if you guys had this was the same team from last year, but the only difference was the quarterback. If Jimmy was playing, we lose anyways. I don't think so. Jimmy Garoppolo's not a bad quarterback because you always find a way to win games with Jimmy Garoppolo for whatever the reason. Jimmy Garoppolo's not a bad quarterback. If he wasn't a bad quarterback, why do you guys constantly ever since Jimmy Garoppolo was the 49ers, they always had winning seasons with Garoppolo when he's healthy. And I just don't understand why our win against the 49ers was not impressive according to the media. Everyone's saying, oh, it's week one. Oh, the 49ers were just inexperienced. Like, they'll just make excuses. CG, didn't you hear the report of the Rams wanting Garoppolo if you guys cutted him? So, so I'm just trying to understand why our win against the Niners wasn't impressive. And yeah, Trey Lance missed a lot of throws that should have been that were on him. The overthrow against, I don't know who that tight end was, but maybe CG will remind me who that tight end was that he overthrew that could have been a touchdown. And Trey Lance, he also made another bad throw that was intercepted by Eddie Jackson. So this was an impressive. So I'm saying it was an impressive victory by the Bears, but the media doesn't want to believe that narrative because they don't see the Bears as a good team. They see the Bears competing for the number 1 overall pick. That's what they see it. So they're going to make every excuse that they can to say that the Bears win against the 49ers wasn't really that impressive. And I guarantee you, if we somehow beat the Packers, they're still going to find a way to say that wasn't impressive. They'll just say, oh, Rodgers didn't have his best 2 tackles. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have his number 1 guy, Adams, anymore. He does his defenses like they'll just make any excuse to say that the Bears wins against impressive teams are just not there. But it's a media thing. I don't really care what the media has to say. If we won against the 49ers, the Niners were +10 or +7. Niners were favored by a lot. So, and like let's just say if the Niners had Jimmy Garoppolo and they played us, even though I think we would have lost the game if Garoppolo was playing, if we somehow beat a Garoppolo, they'll just say Garoppolo's not a good quarterback. They'll always find a way to trash the Bears no matter what. And I'm used to it at this point. When we had 3-0 start back in 2020, they were making excuses that DeAndre Swift dropping the ball for a wide open touchdown would have, and we almost blew a lead to the Giants, and we came back against the Falcons. Like, even when we were 3-0, we were considered the worst 3 and O team in the league. Like, they're always going to make that excuse no matter what. But they don't say that about the Titans. The Titans were the most fakest number 1 seed in the AFC I have ever seen. Because the AFC was trash last year. That's the only reason why Tennessee was able to get the number 1 seed. They were pressuring Joe Burrow. They sacked him 9 times, but they still managed to win to lose that game. But they'll say that about the Bears, but they won't say that about Tennessee. And no offense to Sam Bell, I know he's gonna probably come in this chat and call me delusional, but at the end of the day, a win is a win no matter what, no matter who it's against. The Rams were Super Bowl contenders, that they were the defending champs. Somehow they got their doors blown off at home against the Buffalo Bills. And everyone is saying that, oh, it's a Super Bowl hangover. I think it's just an overreaction to the media. I think the Rams will still somehow win that division. Yeah, I do agree that the Raiders were playoff frauds. They only got in because the Colts choked and the Ravens lost and what's it called, the Chargers legit were inconsistent that game. So the only fraud I saw in the playoffs were the Titans because they should have never been the number one seed. What's up? What's good, Jonah? Haven't seen you here in a bit, but what's good, Jonah? So sorry if you guys heard that construction going on. So yeah, you have to beat Seattle, otherwise it's gonna be embarrassing. I'm leaving the door open up to questions if anybody has any last minute questions before tomorrow's game. The Packers, Jonah. Until I see the Bears beat the Packers, I have no choice but to pick the Packers. Otherwise, and that's only because they have Rodgers. If they had Jordan Love, then the Bears should win this. Then the Bears would win it. Shanahan does well week 2 as most after a loss. I hope so. But remember, CG, Seattle technically still owns you. Would I be surprised if you guys lost? No. I feel like the Windy City Productions pick was kind of biased, but I understood it because he feels like the Packers do not look like the same Packers team from recent years. Gino was not pressured much against Denver. Oh, I'm surprised. CJ, I'm glad you brought that up. No one wants to talk about how the Seahawks win wasn't impressive against Denver, but they will say it against the Bears. That's funny because the Seahawks were not, they were actually praised by the media for beating Denver. If anybody got slender after that game, it was Russell Wilson. But because it's the Bears and they won against the 49ers, they'll make every excuse that they have in the book. They'll say Trey Lance was inexperienced, even though this was the same 49ers team that made it to the championship game last year. At least that was Brady's first year in Tampa Bay in 2020. This is the same 49ers team. And even if we beat the Packers, they're still going to make excuses. I agree. I agree. I still think they should have went for it on 4th down, but they decided to kick a 63-yard field goal outside. Like And even after they missed it, they still called 2 timeouts. Like, dude, the game's over. Y'all lost to Geno Smith. Y'all haven't I'm surprised the Seattle Seahawks didn't get excuses like, oh, we outplayed Chicago, but we lost because of turnovers and dumb penalties. You only turn over the ball one time in the second half, CG. And penalties, I guess you could say the penalties played a huge factor, but the Bears, Justin Fields made plays that mattered in the end for the game. That's all that mattered. You could say it was because of penalties. You could say it was because of Trey Lance's inexperience. But at the end of the day, a win is a win no matter what. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter as long as you win the game. Then it should be a nice long I'm gonna watch the main event podcast on my boy Jonah Pitmy's channel very very soon. And shout out to my boy on the call. I need to shout out these Packers fans. Nick Fargo, who is also on the Awkward Silence podcast with me, and AJ. I know he doesn't want to be called Adam James. We still have that bet going on. And I know after I said his name, he's gonna comment on. He's gonna make a comment on this video. He has a bet going with KO, but I have a bet, but it's not as worse as his bet with AJ. I think Kofi is betting AJ to he has to hit a pie in his face and shit like that. I'm like, I don't know what was Kofi's side of the bet, but I know that was the side of the bet. I know CG, you hate the Packers, but anyways, I'm gonna share my boy Jonah's stream once he is on the main event podcast. It's at 9 p.m. So I'm gonna be here for a couple minutes before I'm down. I'm just down only to news content. I'm not doing any more of these hangout streams, but I'll do once in a while if I ever feel like it. But so I'll only be on here for 2 minutes before I'm gonna probably play some Madden, try to build my confidence because Madden 23 is some fucking shit. Hopefully the Bears win, but I don't see that happening. I want the Bears to win, so don't think I'm a part of me wants the Bears to win, and I wouldn't be surprised. But because of Aaron Rodgers, that still plays a huge factor, no matter the case. But I think their wide receiving problem is an issue. So, anyways, I want to thank everybody for that are tuning in. Always leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you're new. And bear down always. Check out my boy Jonah later on at 9 o'clock because he's gonna do the main event podcast. As always, thanks for watching and bear down.